That's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. But that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Wow. Hello, welcome everyone to Retro Fandango, episode number 212, I think.
That's what you wrote.
That's what I wrote. But
I have no idea if it's true.
I hope it is. How's my mic? Do I sound okay?
You sound much better.
That's good.
And what was the issue last time?
My microphone was not facing the right direction. It was turned around. It was like this. Hello. Yeah, testing 1, 2. Hello. When it should have been like this.
You were miking the computer.
Yeah, pretty much. So every time I typed, that must have sounded really good.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen.
Yeah. So
it's cold. That's what's so.
Yeah, I noticed.
Snowing. Are you getting your
snow
now?
Yeah, we got snow. Got a few inches today. Today was one of those days where I had to go and shovel twice. I went out. The snowplow went by in the morning, and then I actually got the snowblower out, which is very rare for me. Usually, I just prefer to shovel, but it was a light, fluffy snow, and then it started getting warmer. So the snow was getting like that cement heaviness to it. So I took the snowblower out and cleared that out. Did our whole driveway. And then just before we got on, I went out again because the snowplow went by again. And just to get that little bit that they leave at the end of the driveway before it freezes. But I noticed that my next door neighbor, I only have one next door neighbor. But
are you on the corner?
Yeah, I'm on it's a corner lot. So we have basically we have a creek on the one side of it, like a ravine that kind of wraps around the house.
Okay.
So we only have the one neighbor.
Like a moat.
It's a semi moat.
Moat to your castle.
It's a semi moat. But yeah, I noticed that our neighbor, our next door neighbor, kind of put snow on our driveway.
Oh no!
So I was kind of like, oh boy, I hope this isn't going to be a thing. Because for some reason he's only got lawn. Like we have like space in between our homes, and on my side it's all crushed gravel all the way to the back of the house. On his, he just has lawn, but he constantly walks in between there. Like that's where he keeps his garbage back there, and he actually, like when I was putting snow there, I'm like, I wonder if like he actually clears this area out, and sure enough, he cleared it all up. But it's just his lawn. Like he's shoveling his lawn. It's really weird.
He likes it clear.
So I took all the snow that he put on our driveway and I put it like back on his lawn, but not where he cleared. I kind of like just like, hey, like maybe just put it over there, not onto our driveway.
Okay. So you're starting off the fireworks.
I'm just like displaying where the courtesy lines should be,
Okay.
I wasn't sure, and maybe but I just well, let's just put it over here where it's not bothering anyone.
Well, have you already introduced yourself to him? You've had some conversations?
Just like in passing, just a couple of words here and there. Like
you didn't go over with a plate of brownies when you moved in?
No. No, I'm never sure. Are we supposed to go do that, or did they come and do that? Like, what's the proper etiquette? Like, when you move into a neighborhood, do you go and introduce yourself, or do
the etiquette here is you go around and you introduce yourself to everybody, and you bring a little something.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what you do in Canada.
I'm horrible at etiquette, so I'm not following it properly, I guess. But I see him outside all the time. But every time it's like, oh, here's an opportunity to like just talk to him for a little bit. He's like super busy. He's doing something to his truck or pulling garbage out from the back or working on his front door or something. So
is he kind of an older fella?
He might It's hard for me to tell nowadays, because nowadays I look at people and I think, oh yeah, they're about 10 years older than me. And then I find out that they're 10 years younger than me. Because I guess I have a horrible self-image where I think I just constantly picture myself as 25 years old or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I get that. I totally understand that. But people in general look a little healthier now
Yes.
than they did in previous generations. So it's quite easy to mistake age now.
Yeah. Well, it's quite simply because people are not smoking and drinking as much, man. You watch those old movies and like this guy's
Oh
35
yeah,
and he looks 55. What do you mean?
yeah. Hmm.
It's all that booze, and anytime they had something that ails them, just drink some scotch. You'll be fine.
Well, that was it. The days of Humphrey Bogart are gone.
Yeah. And the smoking thing, man. But
Hmm.
um but yeah, that's we did get a lot of snow. I posted a photo on the social medias if you want to see how much snow we got. It was
Okay,
it
I'll
was
check
really
it out.
pretty. It was like that snow that kind of sticks to all the trees, like
Oh yeah,
all the tree
decorative
branches.
snow,
Yeah, yeah.
movie
Quite nice.
snow. Yeah,
Yeah, it was quite nice. And then
yeah, cool.
and then the kids, there was these kids that were playing across the street, and it just brought me back to me and my sister when we were playing, because they were building a fort.
Mm.
And of course, it was like the fort. There was World War III happening, not attacking the fort or them defending the fort. It was within the fort because they could not agree on anything on how to build the fort. It's like, no, I need this shovel. Stop using my snow. I need that snow for over here. And oh man,
And did you go out and tell them not to get any snow on your property?
no, no, kids, I don't
Were
care.
you peeking at them through the blinds every 5 minutes?
No, no, they're on the other side of the street, so they're fine. They were playing under the apple tree, which I'm hoping next year I'll be able to walk over there and get some free apples. We'll see.
Well, you gotta make nice with your neighbors. Don't go dumping the snow in the wrong spots, and don't put your trash cans out at the wrong time.
Well, you see, he actually, it was a very windy day one day, and his trash can lid blew into my driveway. So I actually went out there and I picked it up and I put it back for him. And that's when he was working on his door, and he said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "You're welcome." So I'm trying my best.
All right. It just sounds like a powder keg waiting to go off.
Well, hopefully like there's like a steam valve that we could just let it off, and so it doesn't.
Yeah. Like I said, I've never lived in the suburbs, and sometimes all the stories about lawns and your tree branches are going over my property and stuff. People take that stuff so seriously.
Oh yeah, I know. I've always tried to my best to not like start any of that stuff. Like anytime like our neighbor in Stouffville, the one next door neighbor, he was super awesome about looking after the fence in between the two homes. And because there was a big tree that every time it would grow, it'd start like moving the fence around a little bit. So he would go out there and tinker with it all the time and work on it. And anytime he did, I would find out like, hey, how much did you spend on material or whatever? Let me pay for half. And he would like, oh no, don't worry about it. No, let me know. And he would eventually let me know, and then I would pay for half. So
Yeah, I that's the one thing I've never been accustomed to dealing with neighbors. Where I grew up, nobody talked to anybody. It was just the inner city. It was like you'd never even looked at your neighbors.
yeah.
And we had one guy that lived next door to us, and we were told to avoid him at all costs. He was a weird dude. And then here, it's like I don't really have neighbors. There's enough space in between our house and the neighbors' houses, and there's very few people that live. Like we're on top of a hill, and there's very few people up here, and everybody they're nice, polite to each other, but you're not really sharing property lines so much. So
Vox is the king of that hill, and no one's allowed on it.
I'm certainly the loudest one.
Well, yeah, you're the American.
I don't think anybody wants to risk getting into a shouting match with
the American from New Jersey. Jeez.
The cliche American.
Yeah.
All right, that's the old man talk out of the way.
Oh no, this is gonna be nothing but old man talk. That's what this show is now. We just do old man talks.
No,
What's aching
no.
you?
You know what I got?
What?
Video game talk.
No way.
Not only did I buy a new video game, I
What?
played a new video game.
Get out of town.
Bought it and played it the same day. Well, I don't normally buy games so much these days, although I am, occasionally interested here or there. I was out in the store looking at movies as usual, but every time I go to the secondhand shop, I always take a moment to walk by the little video game section there. And there's really not much that I look at anymore because I don't care about the Switches and whatever number PlayStation it's up to now. But I check out the PS2 stuff and the Wii stuff. I just kind of give them a quick glance of like, is there one of those titles that I might be interested in? And I saw something for the Nintendo Wii. I was like, hey, I remember people talking about this game. You probably talked about this game as well. I was like, you know what? $5, I'm doing it. And for the past, 2-3 weeks now, I have been playing Excite Truck.
Oh, nice.
Nintendo Wii. And that game is a ton of fun.
Yeah. Surprisingly fun, considering how it is all motion controls, but their motion controls don't work.
It's the one part that no matter how often I play it, I still can't get it through my head. There's always a time where I forget that I'm supposed to like move the controller to turn, and instead I go for the D-pad, which is your turbo. And then I'm like, how come I'm not turning? I'm like shooting up the hill. But yeah, very simple game. Not too many controls to worry about. Very arcadey, but super fun once you get the hang of it.
Yeah. Well, and then there's the sequel that came out on the Wii called Excite Bots.
This is like they're robots or something, and they transform or.
Nah, they don't really transform. They're just kind of like robots or vehicles that are in the shape of animals.
Okay.
Which it does sound like really weird, and it doesn't sound like something like I would normally be into, but it's actually super fun. It's a really fun.
Is it the same gameplay, pretty much?
Yeah. I think the controls in it are actually a little better. They're an upgrade from Excite Truck. There's a lot more tricks and stuff that you do in the track itself. Like you'll jump in through a ravine kind of thing, and they'll hang on to like a pole, and then you got to zip fling the characters off the pole kind of thing.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a little more to it. It's definitely an upgrade. So if you find that for $5, that's some more fun right there.
Well, that's why I always glance at the Wii section, because right now it's like finally the prices have dropped to what I consider to be realistic for used Wii games, which is like literally like $3 to $5 for a game. So when I see it's like, even if I'm not gonna play it, my kid still loves picking up the Wii from here and there. So if I see like the Mario Galaxies or Donkey Kong or something like that, yeah, sure, here, have some more games to mess around with. The only problem is that I bought that game and I was like, all right, I'm going to play this truck game. And every time I turn around, my daughter starts playing it. She's unlocking all the cars and getting the platinums. And I was like, it's supposed to be my game. But if she hadn't done that, I wouldn't be nearly as far ahead as I am now. So,
yeah, well, now's a good time to get those Wii games, because I think within like the next 10 years, that's going to be where that generation's going to come up who grew up with the
and they're going to spike back up again.
Yeah. So now's the time to get them.
Yeah.
Well, there is a racing game that I want to call attention to for you. It is free on Epic Games today.
Oh, they're doing their every day is a free game now.
Yeah, I think for the next 15 days. I'm not sure if today's the first or second.
I went there yesterday because I always go on Friday. For me, that's the day they do the new game. And yeah, I forgot. I gotta check in. All right, I'm heading there, so you gotta see if you can beat me to the punch here.
Well, today's game is, I already checked it. It's Turbo Chase Horizon, which is a game I had talked about before in the past, and it's kind of like a outrun type
Oh,
of
okay,
game.
Horizon Chase Turbo.
Horizon. Oh, I had it right. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay. Horizon Chase Turbo. That's my
you got all
dyslexia.
the words are in there.
Horizon Chase Turbo.
Oh, in library. Apparently, I have this.
Oh, okay. It might have been free at some point already, but
I've totally lost track. It's so routine. I go to Epic, like download free game, and then I don't look at it ever
yeah.
again.
Well, that one's a good one that you're going to want to check out especially if you're a fan of Outrun. The gameplay is very similar to Outrun, but and I think they even have levels that are like Outrun, where it's that branching path. I think I played a few games like in the past, so I can't remember if that's in that one. But the rest of the game, the main part of the game, it's like you're going through and you're collecting certain colored coins. And basically, the more coins you collect, the more stuff you unlock, and you unlock better cars to get better times for the tracks, and you keep unlocking stuff more and more and more as you go through the game. So really, it was really addictive, a lot of fun. Like, it just added a whole other layer to that outrun formula. And same thing, like if you hit a car, it slows you right down, so you want to try to get through the tracks without hitting any other cars. And I played that game to death, like getting 3 stars on every track, to just unlock everything. It was a blast.
Yeah, it's kind of rare that I can sink myself into a game for a while, but when I find one of those games, it's got to be that nice sweet zone of kind of pick up and play. I can't sit here forever. And just kind of simple gameplay.
Yeah, well, that game
try.
definitely fits all those criteria.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I tried the other day. Like, I was putting that Excite truck in, and my daughter had, hey, Rocket Sauce is here.
Hey, all
Just got
right,
off
one
a
person.
tech call. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, that sounds important.
Yeah. And she had the Super Mario Brothers game in there. The Mario Wii, the
Galaxy
or no, not Galaxy. The 2D one.
Yeah.
In the red box.
Mm-hmm.
They come in a red box. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll play this instead of the truck game today. And I was like doing the Mario 2D thing, and like, man, my reflexes are shot. I can't play that game at all. I'm missing every jump. I'm timing is off on hitting the enemies. I'm picking up a shell and hitting myself with it. It's like, wow, what happened? You don't play games for a while. That skill goes away.
When I first got on the internet, it seemed like everybody was awesome at all these Mario games and Metroid and Mega Man and all that, and I was never good at them. And now it seems like everybody's just kind of come back down to my level where we all just suck. It's great. It's great to have
new Super Mario Brothers Wii. That's what it was.
Yeah, their naming is something else. I was actually in a video game store the other day, and I was looking at the Switch games because I have a Switch now, and
I thought you got rid of your Switch.
I got a Switch Lite. So Sarah built up a whole bunch of points at Shoppers Drug Mart, which was we had like 2 of them in Stouffville, and where we were moving to in Chelmsford, there wasn't going to be anyone any close by. So we kind of just, hey, what are we going to spend these points on? So it worked out that I could get a Switch Lite for $40. So I thought, what the heck? Why not? Let's get this thing. So, and so far I've only played 2 games on it. I played baseball, and I have another game called Golf Story, which it's exclusive to the Switch. It was on sale for like $7, and it's basically like like the old school golf games, where you'd have the little
I
slider.
was just gonna say, like,
Yeah.
from the description, baseball and golf, you just picked the most generic old man titles. That, like, when I go to my aunt's house when I was a kid, and she just had like that black box golf, or
Yeah.
billiards or something. I'm like, I want to play Super Mario Brothers. I want to play Contra. I've got billiards,
Well, you're missing the
side
other
pocket.
you're missing the other half of the title. It's golf, but it's also story. It's golf story. So it kind of plays like a 2D Final Fantasy game where you're walking all around and you're looking for you get a quest from your coach, like, hey, if you want to improve, you need to go find a golf club, and so then you go to the other area that he points you to, and you find somebody there, and then if you want to get the golf club, you got to beat them at a round of golf kind of thing, or there'll be like some other trick or something, or some other skill that you'll have to learn. It's quite good. I think I only had to look through a walkthrough once because it left me lost at one point. I can't remember what, but for the most part, yeah. Oh, I remember what it was. So there was a guy that was like, "Hey, if you want to play me, you have to find a shovel because you're going to need to dig through all these sand traps." So I'm looking everywhere in the game for a shovel. I can't find a shovel anywhere. In the meantime, I found somebody else, and they gave me like this little quest. And at the end of it, I got a sandwich. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Not a sandwich, but a sandwich, right?
You just triggered rocket sauce. That Simpson quote is coming so fast now.
So then I went, and I'm looking all over for the shovel. I couldn't find the shovel. And then eventually, so I looked it up online, and the sandwich was the shovel. That's what I needed to dig the
Use an
balls out.
open-faced club. A sandwich. Come on, Ryan, where are you?
He's at work right now, so maybe he's on another tech call.
He's probably kicking himself. He's probably shouting it into the tech phone call right now. I was like,
Oh.
But it sounds like there was there was a Nintendo game. It was one of those gambling games. So you're in a casino, and like you'd have to like travel. It's like, if you want to play me, you gotta find this guy. You gotta beat this guy or something. Vegas Dreams or something like that.
There you go. Now he's chiming in. He's at work. There, see. Yeah. Well, there was a game that I kind of played like it on the TurboGrafx 16 way back in the day.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. My buddy Frank had a TurboGrafx 16, and then we're on the PlayStation era. He was like, "Hey, I'm playing this PlayStation all the time. Do you want to just like take my TurboGrafx 16 and play some of these games?" So was it Caesar's Palace? That's what he said.
I don't know. I remember having a game called like Vegas Dream 1 or 2 or something like that. It might have been. I don't know.
Anyways, one of the games was this game called Final Lap Twin. And I had never played an RPG, like one of those JRPGs in my life. And I just got a huge kick out of this game because it was like a JRPG where you're going around, you're getting quests and that. And instead of fighting, you would race. You'd be entered into a race. And I had no idea that was, that's what you did in a JRPG where you fight people and all that stuff. But Bill is giving.
Bill.
Look at this, Bill. I thought he was too busy making supper for us.
It's an inappropriate use of work time.
All right. Oh, and I wanted to mention the before we get too far off track. Well, we do need to talk about your headgear. I don't know is that a toque or was that a scarf?
This is my my neck warmer. I just raised it up to the top of my head.
Okay. That's cool.
It's quite cold.
That's cool, kids. Remember that.
Keeps my head warm.
Okay, Sauce says, I remember you could go to the restroom in Caesar's Palace. They did it before Duke Nukem. Oh, wow.
But could you shoot up the place?
I don't know. Well, anyways, the charity stream for the Cartridge Club was 2 weeks ago. And
was it 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah. It was
All right.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was supposed to be just a week before we recorded this, but we got pushed back a week somehow. Not sure how.
Somehow.
Listen, it's kind of difficult to get back into the groove. It's like I'm on another planet over here. Like even today, I almost forgot again. Yesterday, we made plans with my in-laws to go to dinner with them, and then Sarah was like at 8 o'clock last night or something. Like, hey, aren't you recording a podcast tomorrow? I'm like, oh crap, I am. So we pushed that off just for you. We said, I cannot push Richard back another week. We have
another week, suggesting that perhaps you pushed me back 1 week prior.
I completely forgot last week, and the flood of complaints.
I can't fault you because like those 2 weeks did go by very quickly.
It was
for some reason for me too, and it's usually the night before that it kind of clicks in my head. It's like, oh right, that's tomorrow. What have I done this week? And then suddenly it's like, okay.
Yeah, it was insane. Those 2 weeks flew by so fast. Even this week, like we pushed it back a week, and all of a sudden it's here. Every day's been full of stuff to do. Anyways,
the comment section seems to be obsessed with my wardrobe.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's why I brought it up. So let the comments build up while I talk about the Cartridge Club stream.
This is my Marty McFly-esque zip-up vest thingy to keep me warm, and this shawl, as you put it, is it's the hood of my hoodie that's just draped in a funny way.
Bill was asking if you had a shawl over the jacket. That is an odd.
This is my shawl. This is my babushka.
Usually the jacket goes over the shawl, so that is a different setup.
This is what you call a hoodie. I don't know. Is that better?
No, that's worse.
Yeah.
Sauce wants to know if you shaved your head. That's why you're covering.
Nope, it's falling out on its own.
Okay.
I would assume people who lived in Canada had a concept of cold. And when it's cold, you put things on your body to keep yourself warm.
Yes. Anyways, Cartridge Club stream. I did tune in on the Friday night and did some I tuned in when Sean was on P1 and talked to him a little bit, and then I made sure to get up extra early because at something like 4 a.m., our buddy Kyle was on. Surprised he's not here in the comments, but our buddy Kyle was on. And he was running a contest where if you donated money, you would get put into a draw, and you get to pick from a board a prize. So because during the hour where I donated, I was the only person that donated money, I got to pick a prize on there. And I chose a number. He had like a bunch of numbers up there. It was kind of like that Howie Mandel show, with the ladies and the briefcase. Which number do you want? So I took number Deal or No Deal. That's what it was called. Remember that show?
When was this on?
Oh, you were probably off to Japan. Anyways,
I want to talk about Howie Mandel now. Go ahead, finish your story.
I'll write down Howie Mandel. So, anyways, picked a $5 gift card for anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So of course I chose Steam, and the nice guy, he upped it to $10. $10.
What?
So give me a $10 gift card on Steam, which thank you so much, Kyle, and I will be using that for some American Truck Simulator DLC when it goes on sale around Christmas time. So
what you got was the secret Star Trek upgrade, Trekkie fan upgrade.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
If like Duke won, he would have reduced it.
By the way, it's speaking of those Star Trek games, kind of pissed me off that GOG has its winter sale on right now, and they got some amazing deals there. Except those Star Trek games, they only give you like 10, 15, maybe 20% off. So they're still like $10 each those old ass Star Trek games. Like, come on, bring them down to like $5 or something. Come on, guys. Come on.
All right. This is not a jacket. This is a vest.
The comments are really obsessed with Richard's outfit. For people who are listening, Bill is complaining that Richard is wearing his hoodie over the jacket when it should be under the jacket.
This is my shirt. This is a light down vest, very thin but very warm, and it's warmer if you wear it closer to the skin instead of on top of another layer.
I see.
So you put this one on first, and I throw my hoodie on over that.
So that's it. That's a vest under there. So
it's a vest. I told you it's like a Marty McFly vest.
Okay.
It's just thinner, and it's much warmer if you wear it on the inside than on the outside.
Can I ask you, did Marty McFly wear his vest on the inside or the outside?
He wore it over his shirt, as I am doing.
I see. Mm-hmm. His long sleeve shirt must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a long sleeve shirt on underneath my hoodie there.
Okay. Okay. That mystery's been solved.
Yeah.
I myself am not generally a vest man, but I have been wearing a vest under one circumstance lately, and that is when I clean my records. I've been using my spin clean thing, and my cuffs seem to attract the water sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I wear a vest so I can keep my body warm, and my cuffs just get, the skin gets wet. But that's fine. Mm-hmm. I have no cuffs to get wet. So there you go. Okay, I got that out. I meant to go back onto the Cartridge Club stream, and I totally forgot about it the next day. Sorry, guys. Okay, that's it. That's all I got.
All right.
Yeah. How long have we been talking? 30 minutes? What have you been up to?
That ain't bad. There's just a bunch of old man talk so far.
Yeah.
I do nothing. I watch movies, and I can. Oh, and I related to movies.
Well, look at this. Now
you're still go over a hoodie. My daughters have made this abundantly clear. I'm sorry I don't share the fashion sense of teenage girls, Bill. I do my own style.
What about, can Bill ask his girls about the neck warmer on the head? How's that? Just curious how they feel about that.
The neck depends on if you want to make your neck warm or your head warm.
I see. So that when you bought that, it said neck or head warmer.
No, I figured that out on my own.
I see.
I would wear it around my neck when I got cold. And then I said, hey, it's actually a little too warm. Pull it up. And then as I'm pulling it off, I was like, ooh, this is nice. And it settles right there.
Right. Why buy a neck warmer and a head warmer when you can just have one to do both?
I do have a regular knit cap and a neck warmer. It's just I don't need it at the moment.
Those are called toques. We call them toques.
Yeah, where you live, I call it a knit cap.
I would say the people who live in the cold climate know best what to call a toque. And it's a toque.
I'm quite warm right now with my vest on the inside, my hoodie on the outside, my neck warmer on my head, and my lap blanket in place.
Now, why not a scarf? Why a neck warmer?
It's too long. It flops all over the place. You get twisted around.
I see.
One little piece. Just shoop, shoop.
I see. See, I do the scarf because my coat comes down like this. So then the scarf...
It's not nearly as cold where I live. We don't get snow. So I can't compare coldness strategies for that intense cold.
Oh, look at this. I'm missing this here. Sauce did a tribute to me, but I was there. Oh, my goodness.
Tribute to Kevin.
Oh, my.
Oh, is it the truck simulator?
I hope so. I don't know. I didn't go back and watch any of the videos either. It's been
smokes in the sleeve.
Too crazy. Too crazy. Okay. Well, do we want to talk about movies? Is it time already?
I can talk about movies. I can talk about Siskel and Ebert. I got a couple of things.
Well, let's hear what you have to say about Siskel and Ebert. I'm listening.
Well, I've been listening to a bunch of their old reviews, just because why not?
Yeah, they're
And
entertaining.
occasionally they would do some, they had their regular episodes talking about these movies this week. Then occasionally they would have some special episodes, best of 1988, worst movies of 1988, stuff like that. And
Mm.
then I came across one that I had never seen before, never heard of before, and I thought it was very interesting. It was an episode about the films that made them critics. And they were discussing films that influenced them from an early age. And it was things like, the first time I realized that movies were deeper than the story, or movies that, like, the first time it made an impact on you and you realize this is like an art medium and stuff like that. And they were talking about a bunch of old classic movies and their memories of seeing this and how they felt and all that. I thought that's really neat. I wonder what mine is. And I was thinking, what's the first time I was watching a movie and I realized, okay, I'm thinking about this differently. I'm looking at this, for more than just, something on the screen, visual entertainment. And I can't think of anything. I have no idea when that switch flipped and, you started realizing, okay, it's not just some silly story. There's actual style. They put the camera there for a reason. They made a close up here for a reason. I don't know when that clicked in for me. I can't think of any reason, any instance.
Nah, me either.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just us, because I know we've run into this other times with video games where other people will say, "Oh, I remember getting this game on this day on this Christmas, and I spent this much time, and we bought it from this store," and they have all these details and vivid memories about these things. I was like, I don't know. I played video games. That's it.
Yeah. For me, it just comes from a curiosity of like I try to figure out why I like something and why I don't like something. So I guess that's where I start analyzing the movie, because like, what is it about this movie that I don't like? So I
Hmm.
have to go and find it. I don't like pick apart. Like, I know people just think I pick apart movies just for the sake of it or whatever, but it's really a feeling that I get. Like, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, why am I not liking this?
Hmm.
What is it about this movie? Or why am I liking this? What is it about this movie that I like? So that's how my brain works. And then I also love the technical stuff of how things are done and how things are made, like how the sausage is made. Like, I remember when
Hmm.
I was a kid, I was obsessed with the Muppets and how the magic of the Muppets are the Muppets really playing those instruments, or is it all
Hmm.
fake? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, do they have like some sort of like air thing inside the Muppet to make it play a saxophone, or is it just fake?
Yeah.
Like
Hmm.
just stuff like that. I you know
Hmm. Yeah. I suppose that probably kicked in first, because at some point you realize, okay, these are effects. They're doing something with puppets. They're doing something CG, whatever, and you start thinking about that. And I always liked looking at that stuff whenever you got to see, and this is before like DVD bonus features and stuff. You'd see something in a book or a magazine, and you'd see like the puppeteering mechanics that work some kind of effect, and you're like, oh, that's neat. Or they're building, like the model Enterprise for the shots, and like, oh, that stuff's really cool. So I think that's probably when I first started thinking about other aspects of how they actually make the movie. But in terms of like emotional depth or subliminal meaning and things like that, I don't know when that clicked in. Probably not until my early adult years. I don't know if I was even thinking about that when I was even a teenager.
Oh yeah, no, all that
Hmm.
stuff was lost on me. It would be stuff that was pointed out to me afterwards, or whatever.
It probably was something like that, because I took a couple classes in university, and maybe even then when it was just being discussed, and you realize like, oh yeah, there's people think about this before they do
Oh
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Or sometimes you start going
Mm.
down a road and there's absolutely nothing there. you know?
Yeah, sometimes a movie is just a movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was a really neat episode of the Siskel and Ebert there.
So what were
Listening
the
back to
Do you remember like what the movies were that?
I don't remember offhand. I remember Gene Siskel saying he when he was a kid he got really into Dumbo, the Disney Dumbo, because that movie had like the really big ups, like good moments, but also had that really like sad moment when Dumbo's mom gets roped up and locked away and everything. So like as a kid, you kind of know, whoa, this is sad, this is happy, kind of sticks out with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I have to go back and listen because I listened to like a whole bunch of these things. One thing that did stand out to me is they were doing their worst of for 1 year, and they listed Child's Play 2 as being like bottom of the barrel garbage. That's like for disgusting perverts who watch these movies. And that's my favorite Chucky movie. I think that one is technically brilliant.
Better than the first. You like the?
I like it a little bit more than the first. Yeah,
Mm.
the whole ending in the factory, all the weird conveyor belts and everything. There's just like the doll body parts being moved around unrealistically on hooks and things. It's just completely wacky, and there's like the labyrinth maze of just Chucky dolls everywhere. I really do like the second one quite a bit.
See, that's why I like talking to you, because you are much like me, where you don't get offended over, like, there's so many people that would see that and say, well, I love Child's Play too. Now Siskel and Ebert, they hate it. So now I hate Siskel and Ebert because they don't like the thing. I don't like.
Yeah. I mean, I watch so many of their reviews in the past, and sometimes you agree completely. Sometimes they point out something, and you're like, "Oh, that makes sense. I get what you're talking about." Other times they dismiss something immediately. Like in the review of Child's Play, there was nothing about. I mean, their reviews sometimes are like 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and they talk really fast. Like they know they have to get to the next topic. But they're talking about how the concept is sleazy and disgusting, and like, well, who would like this stuff? They don't say anything about the technical aspects. They don't say anything about the story, anything about how the direction. It's just they disagree with the concept at their core, and then they dismiss it. And Siskel admitted that in one I was just listening to recently, where he said like he really has no patience for slasher films, and he just immediately dismisses them. But no, there'll be times where I completely disagree with them or agree with them. But that basic formula that they set up of two people discussing movies is really what's interesting. And even whether you agree with them or not, the fact that they are analyzing it and having a discussion about it is really what is always the most interesting.
Yeah. I wish more people would have that attitude. Like I just had a discussion the other day with someone about Red Letter Media once again, and it came up. It's like, oh, I hate those guys because they nitpick over everything and all that. I'm like, yeah, but I understand that, like, they might not like the thing that you like, and you like the thing, and you don't want the stuff pointed out, so you don't have to watch it. But for me, it's no big deal to make, if they're making a valid point about something or a valid criticism or about something, or even if they just simply don't like something that you like, that's fine. You could still like the thing you like. You don't have to have everybody on board with the thing that you like.
Well, that's the thing. I think when people get upset like that, whether it's, whoever's reviewing whatever, it's if you like something and somebody criticizes it in a valid way, suddenly you feel a little like, oh
Attacked.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
Not even attacked, almost like you didn't see that flaw and now you're upset about it. So you over defend instead of just saying, well, yeah, actually that is kind of a weak point. You just kind of like bash it back. I don't know. I'm sure I've been guilty of that in the past, but for the most part, I really just try to like, yeah, I don't care. Like whatever you like.
Yeah.
I'm still not watching your stupid Marvel movies.
Well,
I'm sure they're fine.
well, speaking of liking something that nobody else seems to like, I noticed that you watched Alien Resurrection.
I did.
You watched Alien 4. Did we talk about, or sorry, Alien 3? Did we
I
talk about Alien 3?
Probably not. No. I watched. Right. This was. I think I watched that like the day after we recorded or something. No, I found it cheap. For whatever reason, those Alien movies occasionally at this one shop, when they get Alien movies, they're always like nice and cheap. And I had Alien and Aliens, so I figured, all right, why not get them all? Because the only time I had ever seen Alien 3 was when we discussed it years back, and I didn't care for it. And then sorry, I was like, all right, let me give it another shot. And I still didn't like it, but at this time I watched was the assembly cut.
Yeah.
The assembly cut, which was longer and so boring.
Yeah.
And you watched it and you kind of agreed
Oh,
that it was
totally.
just too much. Yeah.
While it drags out. Well, the dumb thing about it. So the climax of that movie is the alien is like a half alien, half dog in the regular cut of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And they need to trap it in order to kill it.
Yes.
And I'm so spoiler alerts for all these cuts or whatever. But that's basically like the like they're these she's at a prison facility. She's not with Marines like she was in the second film, so they're more underdogs. Even though it's just one alien, this alien it's different. It's not something that we've seen before. So the tension is, can they capture this thing and contain it in order to kill it? Mm-hmm. And what this stupid assembly cut does is they go through the process of capturing the alien, and then there's some guy that is not on his rocker, and he's a little crazy, and he thinks that if I free the alien, it's going to, I don't know, do something. I wasn't really following at that point, but basically they capture the alien, then free it, and then have to capture it again. And that whole back and forth just kind of ruins the whole, climax of the film on like whether or not they can capture the alien. So to me, it adds an extra half hour of just rubbish. And for some reason, the alien was, I guess, originally the director David Fincher wanted it to be a half alien, or an alien that was born through a bull. Some people are saying it's an ox, but I think it's a bull.
Right? I think they say ox, but I couldn't tell you what it was. It was a movie prop that they hung up on a chain.
But it wasn't a human. Like usually they're born through humans and that. So that's why it moves differently and all that. And I guess the movie studio decided that it should be a dog instead. They said, no, it makes more sense if it's a dog for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why they changed that. Whatever. Anyways, that's the part that I found really, it just made the whole movie drag. And they already caught it once, so you know that they can catch it again. And I don't know.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of, for me, it's a little bit of missed opportunity and also just odd decisions. Like I can see it for the potential of, okay, you got Ripley in this prison facility. They have no weapons. They have no way to really defend themselves against this kind of thing. Even on the Nostromo in the first ship, they had like the flamethrowers. They could do these like makeshift things. But now you've got an alien that looks different, potentially moves different, even though you don't see it that much. You just see that alien point of view. The camera's like flipping up on the hallways and stuff like that.
There are more visuals of it in the theatrical cut. They cut a lot of that was not in that extended version.
Okay, because now I am a little tempted to go back and watch the theatrical cut at some point and see if that at least sits better. Because there were certain things that, like the ox and the dog switched. There were a couple other scenes that they switched around. There was one, I guess, I don't know if this was in the theatrical or if it was just an assembly cut because they didn't have the right footage. There's one scene where Ripley is talking to that the doctor guy, the guy who's taking care of her, and it's after they get to know each other.
Yes,
and Ripley's like laying
have a relationship.
In the bed.
Yeah,
and it's just a mismatched shot where Ripley's laying on the cot, and then the guy gets up and he's like sitting up. And Ripley is looking up at him, but when they cut back to his point of view, he's also looking up as if Ripley is above him.
Mm.
And the first time it happened, I was like, oh, is he just kind of like looking off into space, just looking up at the ceiling? But then every time they cut to him, he's still looking up. So I don't know if that was a mistake that was in the theatrical, or if it was just because this assembly cut, Fincher apparently was not part of it. And they just kind of like, put stuff together.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, there's even
a lot of things like that.
Another part where the guy is he calls for the dog, right? He was the guy that was in the wind shaft and all that, and he looks down and calls for the dog. But in this cut, it's not a dog. The dog doesn't even show up. So it's like, who the heck is he calling?
Yeah, they never establish a dog in that.
No. So yeah, there's definitely some problems. I can't remember if in the theatrical cut which way he's looking or not.
I don't know. I mean, that's like the technical stuff that makes this assembly cut really weird. It's too long. It's not tightened up and everything. But then even just the base story of okay, well, you had Ripley on her way home, and now Hicks is gone, Newt is gone. They just kind of wipe them out. I don't agree with that. Whatever, they made that decision. Even if you're going to go with that angle, the whole egg in the ship doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the alien queen that you see at the end of Aliens has this enormous egg sac attached to her abdomen that's used to lay the eggs. She detaches herself from that in order to chase after Ripley. Somehow this egg got inside the ship, like upside down in this little corner. It doesn't make any sense to me there. Even the concepts of Ripley at Alien, she gets attacked, she survives. Aliens, she gets like built up again, and she, regains her family unit with Hicks and Newt and everything, because she lost her daughter, and she's now overcoming her fear of the alien. And now it's like you throw her into hell. She's in this hellscape of prison. She's got her head shaved, all these monks. It's like, I don't understand where this is going with her character. Why does she deserve this terrible fate?
I know that's the part of the film I think that doesn't sit well with a lot of people. It kind of negates a lot of what happened in Aliens.
Yeah.
Which normally does bother me. That does bother me. It's like, what was the point of Aliens? But there's a lot of it, to me. It's like, you probably should wait a bit, like to watch the theatrical.
I can't watch it again anytime soon.
But the theatrical cut does move better. Like the pacing is improved.
That's my only concern at this point is, can I watch it and enjoy it simply as its own, sci-fi horror thriller?
Yeah.
Even if I can like push out, like, who cares whatever happened with the other story? If this is the story they're telling, does this story work on its own, beginning to end? And there were a couple things that I know that were better in the theatrical cut. For some reason, in this assembly cut, they don't have the chest burster.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, which is really weird, because a lot of the undertone of the film is about dealing with a terminal illness, right? Like basically Ripley has a terminal illness, right? She's going to, and so removing that, she just simply commits suicide.
Right, you don't get the same impact if you don't see it.
Yeah,
they just keep saying it's in her, but you never get the proof.
Yeah.
And there was something else I remember reading about the Bishop character who comes back, and like in the assembly cut, he gets hit in the head, and like you see he's human. But wasn't it different in the theatrical cut? Like, I remember when we talked about, somebody mentioned that.
For Bishop, no, I don't think they changed that scene much at all. Like he gets ripped apart, right?
No. I mean the human. that comes at the end.
Not Bishop.
Sorry, yeah.
Whoever
What
Lance
was it?
Hendrickson is playing at the
Waylon?
end.
Yeah, Lance
Yeah.
Hendrickson.
Waylon. Yeah.
So there was like some, I think in the theatrical cut, there was some ambiguity as to whether he was a synthetic or human.
Right.
But in the assembly cut, they make it very clear he's human.
He's human. Yeah.
So I give me a few months, I'll watch it again, and then we'll see.
You gotta give the movies this. We're still talking about it.
It is true.
There's a lot to digest and analyze in that movie.
As much as I have issues with the film, that one shot of Ripley close up with the alien coming right up,
that still does it.
That's
for me.
still like a hugely popular shot. Like there's a very famous clip that looks excellent.
I wonder if it would be more like most people would have accept it more if it wasn't an alien movie at all. Like none of that stuff about Newt and Hicks were in it at all. She's just on this prison planet. Like it's not Ripley. She's some other character. She's on this prison planet, and there's an alien that
they would always be compared to aliens.
Of course, yeah. But I always wonder if that's one of the problems with those movies is that they're attached to a franchise that's beloved, and if it just like the latest Chuck, or I guess it's not the latest Chucky movie, it is the Mark Hamill Chucky movie. Anyways, I feel that movie would have worked. I feel that movie would have worked if it wasn't a Chucky movie. Just the fact that they made it Chucky just doesn't work. Like it would have been okay as its own thing.
If they had made it different enough, it would again killer toy. Everyone's going to think of Chucky, but if they had made it like a completely different thing and done it well,
Well, Chucky didn't originate the killer toy thing. I mean, there's just episodes of
but
Twilight
he was the most
Zone.
famous.
Sure, yeah.
It hadn't been done in that gruesome slasher mode yet.
So the llama here says he just joins and he's wondering if we're arguing whether Alien is a Christmas movie.
Isn't there a Christmas tree or something in Alien somewhere? Or am I just imagining? You know what? These conversations, I got to admit, I'm kind of tired of them. I've joined in them in the past. I know people really get into.
Yeah.
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Is this a Christmas movie? Is that a Christmas movie? I have no comment anymore.
My answer has always been, if it's a movie that you enjoy and watch during Christmas time, doesn't matter what it is, it's a Christmas movie. To you, it's a Christmas movie. To me, Uncle Buck, that's a Christmas movie. There's no Christmas in it. There's more birthday in it than Christmas, but it's one of those wholesome films that just feels like it fits in with the Christmas movies. Star Trek movies are Christmas movies to me because I would get Star Trek movies for Christmas and then I would watch them at Christmas time. So I just associate it. Even though I think there is a Christmas tree in Star Trek Generations, but that's about it.
So there's I've always thought of Lethal Weapon as an action movie, but over the years I am more convinced that it's a Christmas movie.
Well, that is one of the movies you watched. Did you just watch I saw the box set was there. Did you just
I watched the first one, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, the first one does have some pretty good parallels with It's a Wonderful Life, of the protagonist being down at the end of his rope and he's ready to get rid of himself around Christmas time, and he gets a friendship with Murtaugh and his family, and there's that whole thing of redemption, and it fits.
Okay. All right.
There's a Christmas tree.
Okay. And you watch Revenge of the Nerds 1 and 2?
1 is great. 2 was a sequel. I did get a little sleepy during it, so I might watch that one again down the line, and maybe I'll have something nice to say about it. I was surprised that Anthony Edwards was in it as much as he was, because I heard he was like in a reduced role. He wasn't in the entire movie. He had like a cameo at the beginning, and I thought that was going to be it. But then he does come back a few times in the movie.
Revenge of the Nerds 2 is one of those movies that we had on like recorded off a TV or something.
Mhm.
So I had seen that movie as a kid way more than the first one, but I
Okay.
can't. It's one of those movies that I can't tell you a thing about it other than I remember Booger finding a marijuana plant.
Yes, they're on an island at some point,
Yeah,
and I guess that's when I was dozing off. I don't know how they got to the
yeah,
island. They're just
and
there.
that just that scene just stuck out in my head because for one, that was the first time where I really like, okay, what the hell, like marijuana, and then it confused me because I thought the people who smoked marijuana were supposed to be cool, and he was a nerd and he was into marijuana, so I was really confused
Hmm.
by that whole thing. All right. I see here you watched Blade Runner.
I did.
Which cut did you watch of this film? Which assembly cut
uh,
did you watch?
I watched what is called the final cut because I was in the store and I saw Blade Runner and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen this movie in 20 years, and there's always a ton of copies of this stuff in the secondhand shops. I was like, they had the final cut, and then they had something called the archival edition, which had like the theatrical cut and the director's cut on it. And the final cut was a few dollars cheaper, so I got that one. And I
Oh, I
figured,
see.
hey, if I like this movie enough, maybe I'll go back and get the others. I did not go back and get the others.
Yeah.
Blade Runner is there are so many positive things I could say about that movie in terms of the style and the visual aesthetic and the characters and the lighting and all that is like it looks brilliant. You for me you could easily cut a half an hour out of that movie and maybe it would flow a little better. It's just so slow. I wouldn't say it's bad. It is just slow.
Mm. Yeah, I'm in camp. I like Blade Runner a lot, but I recognize that there are a ton of problems with that movie. And it's one of those movies too that's it's style over substance, which normally bothers me a lot. I don't like a lot of style over substance movies, but for some reason there's just some thread in that movie that I just keep it's the mystery whether or not I can't remember Harrison Ford's character name.
Decker.
Whether or not he's a replicant, who's a replicant, all that stuff. That kind of just I don't know.
I
And
was listening to that because apparently the first time I saw this movie was in film school, and my teacher made a big fuss about it before she started it, and saying how we can only watch the theatrical cut because this was before they had released the director's cut and all that. And she was saying how there's this voiceover that's terrible, and they cut out a unicorn, and going on all these details about the movie and how it's a shame we have to watch this. It's actually much better, and blah blah blah. And then I saw it and I was like, okay, this movie's really boring, and I never looked at it again. I definitely appreciate it so much more now. I can see all the benefits, and I understand why people love it. Um, Without the voiceover, yes, it's definitely better. The little that I remember, I've heard some snippets of the voiceover, and apparently Harrison Ford intentionally did a terrible job with the delivery of the voiceover because they were upset that the studio was making them put that in. I don't get any of those vibes about him being a replicant just because he saw a unicorn while he was sitting at a piano. I don't see any of that.
yeah. It's been a while since I watched it. I'd have to watch it again. I have a collection of it that has I'm not kidding, I think it has 5 different versions of the movie
They're
on
listed
it.
of like there's all these different versions, but apparently it's basically you got theatrical cut, director's cut, final cut, and then there's like little because we're minor differences,
Yeah.
here and there.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm missing out or benefiting too much in either way between the director's cut and the final cut. I imagine that they're pretty similar. Just like I think they said, like there's an extra shot of violence when he's like poking the guy's eyes out or something.
Man, I didn't watch I watched those movies not too long ago, but that's how bad my memory is.
Well, I've discovered that if I try to watch more movies in a short period of time, it's much easier to forget because you're just consuming so much so fast, and that's
Yeah.
probably why Siskel and Ebert were so rough on some
Oh,
movies because they were just,
absolutely.
for them watching like 2-3 movies a day professionally and having to write about them, it's just so easy to say nope, garbage, 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 get it out of here.
Yeah, well,
Wasting my time.
absolutely, because they're also in a position where they're forced to watch a film. But the other thing that people I think fail to recognize when there's like a Siskel and Ebert thing, or especially Siskel and Ebert, maybe not so much Red Letter Media, but it's movies today are consumed as like it's just going to take some of your time, right? Whereas back in the day when those guys were reviewing films, it was like you had to get a babysitter, go out, spend, probably $8, for a couple of tickets, which was a lot in the 80s, to get dinner and all that stuff. So, when they would recommend a movie to you, all that had to be taken into consideration, that you would, that, you were recommending that people go out and spend time to go out, and which movie should they go and spend their hard-earned money and time
Hmm.
on. Whereas now it's just like you're just sitting on the couch and you're flipping through, and it's like, well, why are people
Yeah.
so picky? But that's
Well,
that was part of it.
yeah, and they kind of acknowledged that in actually the last one I was listening to right before we started this is they did one on guilty pleasure movies. And the whole concept behind it was that VHS was becoming popular, and there were movies that they, kind of maybe dismissed early on, but now with the ease of being able to rent these things and just pop it in a VCR, he's like, well, it's not so bad. And the only issue I had with that is that the very first film that they mentioned was Pee Wee's Big Adventure. That is not a guilty pleasure movie. That is a fantastic work of art.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do your thing.
I'm not doing my thing. I'm not doing anything.
Do your thing.
I'm not doing anything.
So yes, Aliens is a Christmas movie.
Sure. In conclusion, if you want to make Aliens a Christmas movie, you go right ahead. You watch.
Well, what have you been watching? Did you watch that Weird Al movie?
I did, and I loved it. It was such a great. If Weird Al was ever to make a movie on his life story, this was it. I don't know how much you want me to tell you.
I watched a little bit of an interview he did with Bill Maher. Do you know Bill Maher's Club Random podcast?
No.
YouTube it. You'll find
it. Okay.
It's annoying because there's tons of commercials.
Yeah.
But he had Weird Al on, and he was talking about the movie. And from what I get, Weird Al did the biopic in a Weird Al kind of way, where it's not all 100% true, and
none of it
just had fun with it.
None of it is true. So yeah, if there was ever a way for Weird Al to do a biopic film, him doing a parody of biopics,
yeah,
it was just perfect. It was just a perfect way to do it. And it's funny because for me, like with Al, like a lot of people just listen to Al like, oh yeah, eat it, beat it, that's the joke, right? But to me, like with Al, there's always like a little bit of more cynicism in like his parodies and that kind of comes through with the movies. Like basically, like the way he comes to some of those his parody songs, and that like he'll be sitting there and somebody will say like a line that ended up in the song kind of thing. And there was even one point in the film where he makes this idea that he actually wrote "Eat It," and then Michael Jackson heard it and wrote "Beat It." And it's he's basically it's his commentary on how like these movies present these things as fact. Like this when it's really just one person's idea or opinion, or they do it to add more drama or whatever. and like a lot of people like just laying claims to like having the original idea for a song or whatever when they really didn't. So yeah, that's always been like part of Weird Al's things that like if you really listen to like some of his stuff, he's like that Smells Like Nirvana song. He's totally taking a piss on Nirvana. Like he's just like saying like these guys don't sound very good. They mumble. Are they even saying lyrics? Like he's kind of cutting them up pretty good, but he does it in such a cute way that people just don't really.
Yeah, I have to go back and listen to that one.
Yeah, listen to
there's so many Weird Al songs that I forget about. Because there's always like the big ones that you think of, but then there'll be some of these others that.
Well, the best Al songs are the ones that he wrote himself. The parodies are great, but he's got his own music too, and especially the ones that he does in the style of like the biggest one probably is "Dare to Be Stupid," which is not a Devo song, but he did it in the style of Devo, and that kind of frees him up to not have to like match like an original song. Like you could just kind of throw in like crazy lyrics and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, that was great. And I had a bunch of people over to watch that movie. So that was good times. I have been watching more films. So I just want to mention the show that we're watching right now, because Sarah and we finished The Last Man on Earth, which I don't know if I mentioned to you, but it ends on a cliffhanger. Because he didn't, they canceled the show before he could finish it, which is unfortunate because it was.
Was this like the Will Forte show? Okay.
Yes. So Will Forte was like he was the last man on Earth, and he's all depressed and he's last person on Earth or last man, and there are other women around. So the show is called The Last Man on Earth, right? And there was a big plague, which it's really eerie to watch it now because the show came out, mid 2000 teens. Is that what it's called? The mid teens, before all the pandemic stuff and that. Okay. And anytime they talk about the pandemic that they went through, like they kind of mentioned wearing masks and social distancing and all that. It's like, wow, they had that all before.
Yeah, there was a movie I saw, Contagion or something like that, and it's like, I heard all those buzzwords.
Yeah, well, because they're taking all the stuff from Dr. Fauci's department, right? Like they go to them and they say, okay, if there was a pandemic, what would we have to do? And they would say, well, this is what you'd have. This is what would happen. So then they put it all into the writing, and then, Anyways, well, at the beginning of the series, he's the only guy. He's living in Arizona for some reason, which is a really dumb place to live if you're the only person left on the planet. But then he other people find him, other survivors of the plague, make their way to him. So then there's like there's a group of them. He has an epiphany at some point where like he was a bit of a dirtbag at the beginning of the show, but then he just becomes more of a goofball, and that's where the show really starts to take off. And you're just following them around as they kind of go from town to town. And at the end of the last final season, he's like, "Hey, we keep going from town to town to like and then we raid the place for supplies and all that. Like we really should, settle down with roots." And they find like this place in Mexico. They have to leave the United States because all the nuclear plants in United States start breaking down. So the whole country becomes toxic. They can't survive there. So they go down to Mexico and they find like this orange orchard and that. And the series ends with these people who were living under a bunker, like hundreds of people that were living in a bunker, come out to greet them at this orange orchard. And that's where the show ends. And it's like, damn, what happens next? But really funny. I can't remember his lady partner on that show. She was on The Daily Show, but she's a really funny actress. She had you could tell like she's acting her ass off in that show because she does like all like these kind of goofy faces and stuff like that, and it's really easy to go too far, with that kind of humor. in that kind of show, but she just nails it perfectly. So it was good. So after that, we started right on that Disney Plus. The next show that came up to recommend was King of the Hill, and I've been dying to watch that show again for forever and a day. So we started watching King of the Hill. That first season of King of the Hill, every episode is an absolute banger. It's just a classic. Everything.
How many seasons did they have? They go on like more than 10 seasons?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it started like 98 and then it wrapped up in 2009. So like I had like maybe 11 or 12, but a couple of seasons like Fox really dicked that show around like they did with most of their cartoons. So there are some seasons where there's only like 8 episodes.
Really?
Yeah. Like it's really like there'll be like a season where there's 24 episodes and then the next season there's only 8. You know, like they brought the show back for 8. But yeah, it's it really holds up. Like some of the humor is okay, some of the humor is a little bit dated, but for the most part, you know, it's still hilarious. I think Bobby Hill's like one of the best characters ever created. Like, you know, there are eccentric characters in shows. Like Kramer is eccentric, but you know, I get the sense with Kramer that he is the way he is because, you know, he wants to be that way, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Bobby Hill is like, he's just like a pure character. He's just pure in all of his, like, he doesn't realize like when he says something weird that he's saying anything weird. You know, he just thinks like,
yeah, there's
it's normal.
A quaintness about him.
Yeah, quaint is the word. So I'm having a blast going back with that show. Still holds up. I'm seeing a lot of my mom and Peggy Hill. It's actually kind of like, oh my goodness, it kind of nailed my mom a little bit there. Like that's exactly what she would do too. So I'm enjoying that. So there you go.
All right. That Last Man on Earth show, it just reminded me of a bunch of offbeat sitcoms they tried to push in the 90s. It reminded me immediately of this show called Oops, where it was like 6 people living in a house after like a nuclear disaster, and they were the only people left on the planet. It didn't last long, and it was just like that. Herman's Head, Get a Life. There were all these like really weird offbeat sitcoms in the 90s that it just feels like they don't make shows like that anymore. I guess because they all kind of failed, but they tried different weird ideas. Yeah, now everything is usually just, you know, a bunch of people in a house.
It kind of seems to go in cycles, right? Like the 60s had a lot of weird ideas for sitcoms, like
I Dream of Jeannie and My Favorite Martian. When was that?
And that like some were like really successful, like the Munsters and Addams Family. But then there was like weird ones like My Mother the Car, you know, The Flying Nun. Like those are just weird shows that would last like a season or two or whatever. But you know, and then things would get, you know, more. Really when All in the Family came around in the 70s, and then every sitcom in the 70s was either family orientated or work orientated. That's all you got. You didn't get anything else. It was a family or it was like the Mary Tyler Moore Show where it was a work family.
Well, I suppose Married with Children came out of a different perspective too. There was kind of like the counter. The creators of that show said that, you know, everybody looks at the Cosby Show and feels bad about themselves because, oh, he's a doctor, she's a lawyer, they got this great house and perfect family. Yeah. And then here comes Married with Children. Everybody's miserable. Yeah.
Well, I think that was the cable thing, right? You got Fox and you got more cable channels and that. So there was more different HBO, like there's different types of shows that could come out of from the normal, like basically on a network, they wanted to do everything safe, right? They didn't want to like, you know, take too many chances. They just wanted to do the Cosby Show again or whatever. Yeah. So, okay. So just a few movies I've been watching before we wrap this thing up. I did watch, I had downloaded V like forever ago. So I watched the first miniseries of V.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping the rest is better. I'm
They're
hoping
not digging it, huh?
when Michael Ironside shows up, like maybe like it'll get better. I'm hoping he has something. I mean, the best part of the show is Freddy Krueger. What the heck's his name?
Yeah, Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, and he's not in it very often, but he just plays
No,
like
he's
the
not a
goofball.
major player in that.
But a lot of the show, it's just like these really boring characters that I really don't care too much about. Like the lead guy that they got in that show, he wasn't very interesting.
He was the Beastmaster.
Yes, I did see that. And then because I was like, else has this guy done? And it was the Beastmaster. And then the show, like, it does get to the aliens eventually, but not for very long. You just get like
I'd have to watch it again. I watched it like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And that slow build to the aliens at the beginning, I really enjoyed that. And then Michael Ironside and his group show up, and it gets a little more action oriented.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Once you get to that part, though, you do have to deal with a very awkward puppet.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember this part. I won't spoil it.
I've never seen it. This is my first time watching V.
Okay.
I've never seen. I was too scared to watch V when I was a kid.
Yeah, it creeped me out
because there was
like the lizard coming out of the face.
Yeah, and I think in one of the promos they actually showed the tongue like fly out of one of the lizards, and I was like, I can't watch that. That's way too creepy. Now it's just like whatever. But I don't like a lot of the. It was a slow build, but what they were building, it wasn't very interesting to me. It was a lot of analogy with Nazi concentration camps and that, to the point where like they hit you over the head with it, where like one of the Nazi concentration camp survivors, so an Auschwitz survivor, was trying to teach his son, like, hey, everything I went through, this is what we're going through with these aliens.
Oh, right, the old man. Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
did they do the V yet?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, that was like right at the end.
Now I get where the V for victory, what V stands for, and why the spray paint V. So there are some good ideas in it, and I definitely see why it was such a hit at the time, because the production value for a television miniseries is up there. Oh, yeah. But man, they could have cut it down to like an hour.
Well, you've got the next part is what I forget what it's called, but it's like part 1, part 2. So I think you got like 2/3 more to go.
I think it's the final battle. The
final battle. That's
the next one. Yeah, and then there's the TV series after that.
So. I haven't seen the TV series. I know it went for like 1 season or so.
Yeah, well, and Robert Englund is more, prevalent. Is that the word?
Prominent.
That's the word I want. Prominent in the miniseries, or in the TV show than he was in the miniseries.
Okay, yeah. I overall I enjoyed V. I'm sure it has its weaknesses. Kevin is back on the YouTube.
Yeah, I'm on the YouTube. Yep.
And what was I going to say? Yeah, I like it overall, but it does have its fallbacks, and just try not to laugh too hard when you see the puppet.
Okay.
And you'll know which one I'm talking about.
All right. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Let's see. I did watch one Steven Seagal movie because we were in the mood for some crappy kung fu.
Okay, hang on. 1990s Steven Seagal or contemporary straight to video?
Late 80s.
Oh, late 80s. Okay.
Yes.
3-word title?
Absolutely.
Okay. What do you got? Hard to Kill?
Was not hard to kill.
What were the other ones? Hard to Kill. Fire Down Below.
Nope.
It
wasn't below. You're not below. You're
above the law.
Above the law. That's right.
Oh, I love the Steven Seagal game.
So I think this was his first film as a leading man, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he is not a very good lead actor,
Nope.
but
But
but they did have a pretty good crew around him. The director of the film went on to direct The Fugitive, which we talked a little bit about Harrison Ford in the last episode, and that's one movie where he is legit. That's a legit Harrison Ford film. Anyways, and then Pam Grier plays his partner, and the movie itself was it was kind of okay. It was, you know, it was fine for what it is. He his church is attacked.
it's true.
Yeah.
I can't remember which movie is which. Is this the one where he's like he's in a hospital or something and he can't move?
No.
No, okay, maybe that's Hard to Kill.
Yeah. No,
Right.
was he? Did he end up in a hospital? I don't think so. His
There's
partner
one
does.
movie where he gets injured and he's in a hospital, and then he immediately gets up and starts doing like kung fu, and he's back to normal.
That might have happened. Sorry, I watched this on the 8th, so it was a few days ago. So,
Okay.
But it was okay for what it was. I was hoping there would be more car chases and a little more kung fu. It opens up like he's in Japan, and of course,
Maybe I haven't seen this one.
He's better than all of the Japanese people because he's
of course,
you know, he's a white guy, so of course he's better at martial arts than all of them. But it doesn't stay in Japan. It goes back to Chicago, and he's a cop, and he's like looking after this church, and it turns out that this church is like helping people from Mexico come into America, which was weird because I thought super conservative Steven Seagal would be against that, but you know, he's helping out his church, and then his priest accidentally gets murdered because they're chasing after some other guy, and I don't know, it gets kind of convoluted, but because, you know, you can't tell a cohesive story in a Steven Seagal film for some reason. But the action was okay, and for the most part, you know, it was an okay film. I gave it
in Steven Seagal's defense, I do believe, I have to check on this, but I do believe he was a pretty highly ranked martial artist, like in reality in the 80s. And he was maybe like the first foreigner to set up a school in Japan to be like a high ranked instructor.
Yeah.
So he does have legitimate skill in whatever it is he's trained in. And some of the fight scenes that he does, he's really good at those like real fast like disarmings. There'll be some like fight where it's like somebody's got a knife or something, and he does this like da 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 thing to like knock it out of their hand and hit him in the face or something. And a couple of those scenes do look really impressive. He is not an actor though.
No, it's just really awkward. Like that was the cold open to the movie, was him in Japan and doing all this stuff, and it was just really awkward that they wedged like this part of his true life story into the movie.
It could have just been pure vanity. Like I want to do
that's what I mean. Like
this thing,
because the rest of the movie it doesn't come up. It's got nothing to do with the rest
it's
of the
just
movie.
Like, hey, this will set up my character. Look what I can do. Da 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 da. And then you know, look at me showing off. It's kind of like Tom Cruise, how he always wants to. You got to show me flying the plane in the movie. Show me doing this. I'm gonna climb on the building.
Yeah, people love that Tom Cruise for some reason.
Yeah. I haven't seen that new Top Gun movie. People say it's really good.
No. The first Top Gun movie wasn't that great, but
no, it absolutely wasn't. But people say, a lot of people I've talked to say it's like legitimately good movie.
Okay, so before we go, I just want to quickly mention, which means probably won't be quick, but I've been rewatching. So I borrowed Clerks 3 from my friend Frank. So I haven't seen Clerks or Clerks 2 in forever. So I went back and I'm like, I got to watch Clerks 1 and 2 before I watch Clerks 3 because I can't remember what happened. And then of course it just snowballs from there. And instead I ended up watching Clerks. I watched Mallrats. I watched Chasing Amy. I watched Dogma, and I'm up to Jay and Silent Bob. Straight Back. I haven't watched that. Rewatched that one.
You're going to Yoga Hosers?
I couldn't find Yoga Hosers on any of the streaming services, so I'm not sure if I'll do that one, but I kind of have to go through it. So what's your stand on the Kevin Smith movies? Do you like them? Do you hate them? They hit and miss?
I do not like Kevin Smith. I find him annoying as a person. I have seen Clerks a very long time ago, and I don't think it's a bad movie, but I don't personally really like it. But at the same time, I think it's probably one of the most important movies that you could show somebody who wants to make movies. Because the fact that he was able to put that film together by maxing out his credit cards and shooting locally and just getting this thing done, and he got a finished product, plus the fact that it did become like a big cult movie and it got him a career, is a very remarkable thing. So I think it's a pretty important movie. I can't say I like it, but I haven't seen it in like 25 years or something. I've never seen part 2. I think I read the script to one of his movies, but I didn't actually watch it.
With Chasing Amy?
Maybe. Somebody had one of those, you could buy the scripts at the Barnes and Noble thing, and I read it, but I didn't actually see it. I think I saw parts of Dogma. Overall, I'm not a big fan of Kevin Smith. I didn't even like that He-Man show that he did.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it was a bad show either. It's just, I think I've just outgrown He-Man. I'd have to see it again and try to judge it without my my opinion of Kevin Smith as a person. He's an annoying individual.
Yeah. Well, he does like to talk. That's for sure. I can get.
It's not even the fact that he talks, and it's not what his opinions are. It's just the way he talks and the way he presents himself, constantly with the backwards baseball cap and the I don't want to grow up. I'm wearing this trench coat and hockey jersey all the time, and
that's because he was
about him. I don't know.
Well, the hockey jersey and trench coat thing is because he was a fat man, and you're trying to hide the fact that you're a fat man.
I don't know.
You wear
and even, I mean, as somebody who hails from the great state of New Jersey, I find him extremely obnoxious that he's constantly putting New Jersey everywhere.
I think all of his movies.
It's like Jersey. Stephen King with Maine.
Yeah,
he just has this local pride thing.
Yeah,
about it.
Yeah, because it's funny, like that part of it you should like, and then he references Canadian television all the time. He was a huge fan of Canadian television, and probably still is. And he wears so Sauce says he wears the hat because he's balding, and he's not surprised that Box hates humor.
Apparently.
Well, I gotta say, for me, with this going back and rewatching, the movies are really hit or miss with me. I really enjoy Clerks. I think Clerks is like those positive things that you mentioned. But also, I think it was, I like the character stuff. I like the character, like how the main character basically is struggling with his girlfriend's past and her sexual activities in the past, and he's struggling with that. And he's also struggling with reconnecting with his ex-girlfriend and all that. I really like that stuff. I find that stuff interesting. I like that part of his writing, and his characters are down to earth. So I really liked Clerks. I watched Mallrats again, and every time I sit down and watch Mallrats, I'm like, this is it. This is the time that I'm going to enjoy Mallrats. And once again, I could not get into that movie at all. I think it's like the worst thing I haven't seen Yoga Hosers yet, but so far It's the worst thing he has ever done. It is just a, a mess, I would say, of a film. Like, the characters in it are very flat, and they don't have the same dimension. Like, I could tell he's trying to do the same thing that he did with Clerks, but with Clerks, like, the characters were stuck in the situations that they were stuck in. Like, part of Dante, the main character, and him being stuck into this, trying to work through his relationships. He's kind of stuck in a rut, and he's trying to get out of it. And that's also like them working at at the convenience store and at the videotape store. These characters are also stuck. They're just stuck in where they are, right? And that's all. Whereas in Mallrats, kind of the same thing. They're having relationships with their girls, and they go and hang out at the mall, and it just kind of like, what? Why? They're like 20-something-year-olds at this point. Like, why are they going to hang out at the mall? I understand that's what teenagers did, but I don't know. It just, nothing about it sits right. It's very, I don't know. So I didn't like that one. And then the next movie comes up, and it's Chasing Amy, and we're back in the good. I love Chasing Amy. Again, all the characters are more down to earth. They're more grounded in the situation they're in. And that movie actually makes me cringe. Like, the main character, played by Ben Affleck, who is not one of my favorite actors, but he does an okay job in this movie. Just like physically makes me cringe on how dumb he is, and the situation that he puts the other two characters in. Basically, like, the movie is like he's chasing a girl that he can't really have, and it's kind of falls under the similar scenario as Clerks, where he's struggling with his girlfriend's past. So there's kind of like, it's kind of like the same thing again, but he dives into it a lot more, and there's a lot more meat. There's a lot of meat on the bone in that movie, anyways. And so I really enjoy, like, any movie that can get some sort of reaction out of me. Like, I just feel like as if I've seen everything in movies now. So for that movie to be a little bit different and to get something out of me, I just really appreciate it.
I'm really losing my patience with dumb characters. When you watch a movie and the character just makes really stupid decisions, it just gets more grating as you get older. I just rewatched that Captain Phillips movie with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Very smart characters.
I love
many
that movie.
Things he's trying to do where he can't fight them off, but he's constantly trying to outsmart them or trick them. It's great.
Yeah, it's not generally something that would work in a movie for me. Like, I hate the show Ozarks for the same reason. The characters are just dumb in that show. But he's not. It's kind of a different dumb. He's not dumb where he's putting himself in peril. He's dumb where he's just doesn't understand boundaries and what other people are going through. It's a little different. Like, I guess because of my small vocabulary, I'm using the word dumb, but probably dumb isn't the right word to use. He's not self-aware, I guess, in the situation he's in and the situation that he's putting his friends through. So just to explain that a little better. And then I watched Dogma. Dogma is like one of the most unique films I've ever seen, and I really appreciate that about the movie. But at this point, I feel at this point, this is where he should have just dropped Jay and Silent Bob. Like, they completely.
Didn't he try to do that? Wasn't that like a thing? Like, he put them in every movie, but then he's like, okay, that's it. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be a real filmmaker. And
so Jay and Silent Bob was supposed to be the send-off for those two characters. And then he came out with Jersey Girl, and it flopped so bad that if he wanted to make another movie, he had to bring back Jay and Silent Bob. That's pretty much it. So that's why he did Clerks 2. I believe that was his next movie. Basically, that was it. So Dogma, and I like the idea of Dogma better than the movie itself because the execution's just really sloppy. If he would drop Jay and Silent Bob from that movie, they feel really wedged into it. I think it would have worked better. And then what it builds up to, I mean, it was just kind of lame. It's kind of a neat idea. Like, it's a unique idea. Like, there's these two angels on Earth. They were cast out of heaven, basically because Loki was the angel of death. And in the old days, God was very vengeful. They're talking about Old Testament, and he would kill people all the time, right? In the Old Testament, he murders like if you read the Bible, he murders like a ton of people in the Old Testament. And then Loki eventually got in Kevin Smith's version, Loki eventually got tired of being the angel of death and defied God. So his punishment was that he had to live on Earth in Wisconsin. That was his, like, thousands of years ago. He had to live in Wisconsin. And then his friend, who was also an angel that convinced him to stop killing in the name of God, was also. So these two angels basically they're stuck on Earth. They want to get back into heaven. There's this church in New Jersey that's celebrating its 100th anniversary. And the way to get people, they're trying to get people back into the church. So their gimmick is to open up the church, and anyone that comes into the church, all of their sins will be forgiven. Now, because humanity has free will, and God has given humanity free will, if these two angels, they got to cut off their wings and they become human, if they do that, and if they enter the church, all their sins will be forgiven and they'll be allowed back into heaven. It sounds like a really cool idea for a movie. It sounds like if Kevin Smith told me like this was I'm like all in.
It does sound like a very tongue-in-cheek, goofy, because that's the one where they have the little Jesus figure,
Buddy
the
Jesus,
Buddy Christ.
Right. So George Carlin is the pastor, or it's Catholic, so he'd be the priest, I guess, for this church, and he's trying to win people back into bring people back into Catholicism. So one of his ideas is to get rid of the cross as a symbol for Christ, because who wants to dwell on all the negativity surrounded by the crucifixion, and instead focus on the good things that about Christ? And so that's where he comes up with this Buddy Christ, and that's where it's Jesus with the thumbs up. So yeah, good, like a good idea, but the execution was just kind of flat. And I don't know why the people were tolerating Jay and Silent Bob in the movie. That didn't make too much sense. He only has one. Of course, Kevin Smith always saves himself for one line in the movie, or actually in Chasing Amy, it does a whole diatribe. But his one line in the movie, it's a joke that he completely ripped off of Indiana Jones, where he throws somebody off of a train, and there's a passenger like looking at him like, "Oh my God, you just threw that guy off the train," and he says, "No ticket."
No ticket.
Right. So anyway, Sauce has a lot to say.
Sorry, that was one thing that was it kind of rubbed me in Clerks, is just the constant Star Wars. Wasn't there like a whole bunch of Star Wars references in there? Or does he do that in all his movies?
There's a whole thing about Star Wars in Clerks.
The Death Star blowing up, and the yeah, like
it was the Death Star blowing up, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Which at the time, that was very unique. Like, nobody was looking at Star Wars at that kind of angle. Now everything's like over analyzed. But
it just seems like doesn't he have like a relationship with Lucas or something? Does he like constant, like, it's kind of like the way he puts New Jersey and everything? Doesn't he put like Lucas or Star Wars and everything? I could be wrong because I haven't seen a lot of his movies.
No. The second movie was more about comic books, and it was all about Mallrats was more about comic books, and it was all about Superman and not being able to have a baby with Lois Lane because, she wouldn't be able to accept his his release, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So the only person he would be able to release into would be Wonder Woman. It was the same kind of over analyzed.
Yes, yeah, I guess that's where the humor goes away from me. It just like it dwells in that, like, that's like a silly premise, like a one-off joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like That's the scene.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, there's only one scene like that pretty much in every movie. What he does in Chasing Amy is there's the one character and the lesbian character. Basically, they're exchanging their wounds that they had from past sexual encounters, and it's a total like mock-up of the scene from Jaws. You know, like in Jaws where like the two
Okay.
characters. Yeah.
Mm.
It's pretty funny. All right, I gotta get the Sauce's comments here because he's all over the place. All right, let's see. I gotta go way back here. Okay, Dogma starts in Chicago and Milwaukee ends in New Jersey. Okay, yeah, we did say that. He did Avengers before Avengers with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. There was an Avengers movie in the late 90s. I'm not sure what he means. Oh, he's saying
was there like a combination of characters coming together or something?
So I'm slow on the take. All right. He agrees that Mallrats isn't that good. Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back are his faves. Oh, okay. He liked Clerks 3. Fun fact, the actor who plays Dante in Clerks plays a different Hicks family member in every Jay and Bob movie. I noticed that he kept popping up. He was an executive in one movie. He was on TV in the next movie. Okay, I don't know what he means by in hometown. Loki convinced Barnaby to defy God. I thought it was the other way around. What do I know? That's why they were cast out. They got drunk. That's why God took away their ability to get drunk. Yes. Okay. These are just random comments here now. Oh, yes. And the main character is the last descendant of Jesus. Sorry, I left that out. And Alan Rickman is the voice of God, which, it didn't make too much sense why they needed that character in it. I understand that they needed him to come in and kind of move the plot along for the characters that didn't understand, but why make him the voice of God? Because when he and God show up, he doesn't really speak for God at any point. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Anyways, there we go. So I am still going to watch Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Although my expectation levels are not that high. I'm expecting another Mallrats kind of movie. And, but I don't know. Maybe I'll be surprised. I don't know. But I'm going to work my way all the way to Clerks 3. Okay, Sarah said it was we had 10 minutes left.
That was 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago. So that's it. I guess we should wrap this show up.
No problem. Well, who was here? We had Rocket Sauce. We had Bill. A lot of Rocket Sauce.
Yeah. The Llama had the
Llama Llama Ding Dong. Scotch on the Rocks.
And Sarah waved.
And yes.
She does watch.
A wave. I thought that was a clap.
No, it was a wave. Like
that's a wave.
Minutes,
okay.
10 minutes. 10 minutes. She she does watch, apparently. She watched, but she doesn't comment because she watches on her Roku. So to comment, she has to open up the phone and type it on the phone.
Well, she knows everything that you've done. I've really got to try to impress her to get a comment going.
Well, I don't think she knew that the neighbor was throwing snow in her driveway because I didn't tell her yet. So
drama.
Yeah.
So
right. Yeah.
And she's gonna say, "So what are you gonna do about it?"
I did. I put the snow in a place where it doesn't seem like it's gonna bother anyone. So all right.
How long does it take to melt? How cold is it out
there? For the snow to melt?
Yeah.
The whole thing?
I mean, won't it be gone soon, or is it just a lump of ice out there right now?
Yeah. Like, if it gets really warm, it would only take probably a day for it to go away. But I don't think it's going to get warm for a while yet. We're still like right now, it's like just above freezing, but at night it's getting like really cold. So when it gets really cold, the ground is cold, right? So that makes it tougher for the snow to melt. Fun fact. There's your science.
Fun fact.
For
There
the
you
day.
go. All right. Well, thanks to anybody who's still hanging around. We'll be back. I don't know when. Are we coming back in the new year?
I guess so.
Because
What's the
2
calendar?
2 weeks from now is New Year's Eve for me.
Oh, yeah, no, that's no good. I'm way too popular now. I got something. I get this. Get this. I got something going on. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and then I'm going to visit my sister for a few days and come back.
Oh
we're
my
coming.
goodness.
We're coming back for a New Year's Eve party.
Wow, look at you being all social. Is this just because you moved closer to people again?
Yeah.
Or are you making all new friends and everything?
No, none of them are new friends. They're all old friends. Yeah.
It's just people you haven't seen in a while.
Well, friends and family, you know?
There you go.
Yeah. So,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
All right. Till the new year then.
Yeah.
And if anyone else wants to wish Kevin a little bit late happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
The birthday boy.
Yes. Actually, we missed your birthday
presents.
on the big break. We missed your birthday as well.
Yeah, that was back then.
So super belated birthday. Yeah. All right.
Older and wiser.
Okay. 1 year closer to death. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
And